Yeah, all good, bro. Can't complain. Arsenal playing a bit better these days, so the mood's a bit. It's not as dour as it was before. So yeah, all good, man. How are you?
It was a really good game against Tottenham as well. But Brighton, they were struggling a bit, but Tottenham game was especially really good to watch them play. Uh,
Yeah,
that right
indeed.
back you've got, the new right back,
Tomiyasu.
it looks fantastic. It was
He
really
does.
good
He looks
against
decent.
Son Heung-min
Yeah.
as well. But no, I've been good. Just at university, so just keeping busy. Got a bit of a cold, like I mentioned before. But um, the next month or so, every episode, I'm going to be doing a feature on Black History Month in United Kingdom because it's been something that I've kind of wanted to talk about, and I think it's something that everyone can really talk about and identify with, whether you're black, you're Asian, you're white, or you're not even from one of these popular ethnicities that we see in
100%.
the country. But um, black footballers have made such a massive impact over the last 12 months, let alone over the last 26, 27 years of the Premier League football. So I just thought it'd be a good idea to get people who have been on the podcast before to give me their suggestions of who would be one of their greatest inspirations for Black History Month for football as well. But Kez, I know you mentioned before the recording, you've got kind of a list. I'm being an Arsenal
Yeah.
fan. You have quite a big list, I'd imagine, mostly from Arsenal players. But I'll let you take
Yeah.
it. Who have we got on the list for yourself? Because
Okay. So if we go football,
Mhm.
Thierry Henry is my guy. He was my absolute footballing idol growing up. Um, Although to be fair, in that same team Henry played in, there's a few names I could pluck out that could easily be on the list. The likes of Patrick Vieira, Carnu, Wiltord. But yeah, Henry was my main guy, man. So he has to be first on the list. My list, to be fair, it's not just footballers on there. I've got a few sporting legends on there.
Let's hear them. Let's hear them.
Yeah, okay. So Brian Lara.
Oh
I'm
my
sure,
God.
yeah,
Never had you down for a cricket fan, but yes, Brian Lara, my man.
yeah.
Guy.
Brian Lara, West Indian legend. Yeah, man. Tiger Woods. Yeah, I
Was
mean,
one of the greatest to ever do it.
one of the greatest for real. Talking with the greatest, Michael Jordan.
Another one.
Yeah, another one.
His legacy
Ali.
goes beyond Muhammad Ali's legacy is probably like people say is one of the greatest of all times, and being someone who's not just fought in a boxing ring, but fought his country, fought black prejudice as well in the United
100%.
States and worldwide as well. It's crazy to see how some of these people's legacy have transcended their sport, which is great to hear and great to really reflect back on as well. Because every year when Black History Month comes in the UK, it's a different month to the United States and a couple of other countries around the world where they celebrate it as well. So it's always nice to go through these people and show that their legacy still carries on year after year, and it shows that their impact
100%.
is still coming on as well.
100%. So to give you a few more names, Usain Bolt. I
Usain
mean,
Bolt, the
yeah, the
fastest
man.
man ever.
Yeah, fastest man ever. They say no more on that one. The next name I've got is he wasn't one of the greatest in his sport, but I think so it's Frank Bruno.
Yes.
And the reason why I've got Frank Bruno on there is because he came through at a time where, as a black British boxer in the heavyweight division, he was one of the pioneers, really, that I mean, you look to in that sort of scene. Yeah, so Frank Bruno's in there for me, I think. And then the last one I've got is Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is someone who, in this day and age as well, you just hear about him every week on the news. Rather, he's not racing every week, but you'll still hear about him trying to do different things and different ways of being the sole man of color in Formula One. And the
Yeah,
fact that he's starting the new campaign to realistically push the boundaries of ethnic minorities coming into racing sport, not just Formula One, but race sport in general, is incredible for me because it shows
yeah,
that he's using his power the right way, and it's not all advertising campaigns or marketing campaigns that the general public like to see. But it's
yeah,
when you're actually looking at what he's actually doing off the track and realistically trying to help the next generation come through, which is brilliant.
100%,
I've, I've
100%.
I've loved Lewis Hamilton since he was at McLaren since 2007 when he first came through, and it was someone who I wished every success for at the time because people were watching like Barrichello come through, Massa come through for Ferrari. They're doing really good. Fernando Alonso was the other McLaren driver at the time as well. But for him to make Formula One his domain, really, he made it his jungle, and he was the king of the jungle. And
Mm,
you've had year after year of replacing. different race drivers all the time. And obviously, there's that season where Bottas pipped him to the title, but is one of the greatest to ever do it in race sport as well. Not just
100%. I mean, for me, one of the things that all of these guys I've mentioned have in common is they've all paved the way for future generations in the terms of they've made it much easier for guys to come through and succeed after them.
exactly.
So I mentioned Frank Bruno. We look at AJ now, who's a superstar.
Maybe before him as well, the previous
Yeah, way
generation.
before him. Yeah, like we spoke about Lewis Hamilton, Michael Jordan in his sport. You know how many guys looked up to him and are now doing big things in the NBA.
Exactly.
Thierry Henry. Every striker I hear of these days was once inspired by Thierry Henry. Do you know what I mean?
Even the Arsenal striker before Thierry, you mentioned Kanu, one of the first kind of players to come from West Africa and kind of just kill it in the Premier League. Because
Yeah,
we could easily talk about Ian Wright, but Ian Wright is someone for me who I didn't see play live, and you know my kind of rule. I don't really comment on that kind of thing,
yeah,
but
yeah,
he was someone that became Arsenal's all-time greatest goal scorer, then pipped like 10, 15 years later by Thierry Henry. But
yeah.
having Arsene Wenger as a manager, who's someone who's very influenced by, who wasn't really influenced by this racial discrimination of what country a player should come from or what their ethnic background was, because he kind of got people from all over the world in his team, and it worked in his favor a lot better than it did for a lot of these other managers who then started to see that trend 15, no, not 15, like 5, 10 years later, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Because when Arsene Wenger came to the club, you had people who were like first team players in the Arsenal team getting replaced by these foreigners who were looked down upon because they're like, oh, they don't have the prestige, they don't have the heritage. Like Nicolas Anelka coming through,
Yeah.
he was someone that came through just before Thierry Henry, and then he left. Then Thierry Henry came in as well, which is incredible. But I know you have to leave in a bit. I just want to hear a few words on Thierry Henry and Patrick Vieira, because Patrick Vieira is someone who I thought was one of the most classy men on the pitch. Obviously, there's that video that you see every now and then of him and Roy Keane in the tunnel, but as a player, he looked like someone who was like a Rolls Royce of a player for me personally, Patrick Vieira.
100%. Before I even touch on these two, you mentioned Arsene Wenger,
Mm.
and I think it's also important to mention guys like that because he may not be black himself, but he gave so many opportunities to so many people to change their lives as well. So guys like that are super important as well.
Definitely.
So I want to shout out Arsene Wenger there, the GOAT. But yeah, Patrick Vieira, what can I say, man? Natural leader, led from the front. Everything you want in a leader, you saw in Patrick Vieira. Left it all on the pitch. Turned up in the big games. Yeah, I mean, for me, when I was younger, I looked up to Patrick Vieira massively because he was a guy that led from the front, and obviously that's what I aspired to do as well. So Patrick Vieira for
He
me,
was exemplary at leading from the front as well. Like you'd barely see him raise his fist or raise a finger, and a lot of people at the time they changed their perspectives on like tall, angry black men. Not to be not to in a racist way, but Patrick Vieira wasn't someone who would always go for fists or violence or anything like that. And I know you see that
yeah,
narrative of him fighting Roy Keane all the time, but for me, when I was growing up, he was someone who would just like push all of his players away to stop fighting the ref or arguing with
100%.
the players. And this was someone that you're seeing firsthand put his own mentality on the line in front of the world as well. Because he did that for France, he did that for Arsenal. Man City did it when as well, and Inter Milan, no, Juventus when he went to Juventus
Yeah.
as well.
And to be fair, Hamz, that's the beauty of sport. It breaks down so many barriers because, like you said, how many people would have followed Arsenal and maybe their first introduction to, someone from a different ethnicity be through supporting the club, him leading
Exactly.
their club out on the pitch. So, no, Vieira, classy as always, right to the very end, and a man I respect greatly. Thierry Henry was also a leader, but a different type of leader.
Yeah.
And what I learned from the change of captaincy did it go straight from Vieira to Henry? No, it didn't, did it? Who was the next captain after Vieira?
It was, wasn't it? Vieira left in 05 and then Henry became the captain.
Henry became, yeah, a different type of leader. And that showed me that there's definitely more than one way to lead. Thierry Henry was a guy that he always made sure that he was on point, and he led by example, which in turn inspired others. And what can I say about Henry, man? One of the greatest to ever do it. Classy, on and off the pitch, the way he spoke, the way he conducted himself. I just loved everything about Henry. Growing up, that's the guy I wanted to be, man. Thierry Henry. Was at the top of his game for so long. I don't know. I haven't got enough good words to say about Thierry Henry, man. Love that guy.
The thing with me is that I've done a previous podcast during Ramadan about like our favorite football legends, and Thierry Henry came up a few times as well. But because I'm at university, a lot of people just know Thierry Henry from his latter years at Barcelona,
Right.
and for him being a Sky Sports pundit. But no, 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 no.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
come to
yeah,
the wrong
yeah,
wrong university or the wrong
yeah,
uni. I've come because
yeah.
you can't be learning about such a great striker for him just to be known as a supporting cast for Lionel Messi at Barcelona and under Pep Guardiola, because he was someone who graced the Premier League with so much elegance, so much class, and I don't want him to be known as just the guy who does Renault adverts. So
Well, to be fair, I mean, if you're a fan of a Premier League club or fan of football, it's important to understand the history of the Premier League
exactly,
and some of the guys that have performed in previous years. And Thierry Henry, if we talk about Premier League history, is definitely one of the first names you're mentioning in terms of best strikers they were. I mean, some may shout Alan Shearer for his goal record, and that's fair enough. But Thierry Henry is definitely in that conversation to be one of the greatest ever Premier League strikers, especially from foreign shores. I mean, he's probably the greatest, in my opinion, from foreign shores to do it in England. So, yeah, you can't talk Premier League without mentioning Thierry Henry. So, for anyone that does only know him from the Renault adverts, go back and watch Premier League years. Do your research, because Thierry Henry was that guy, man.
there's
Was
that
that guy.
meme. There's that meme of people saying, "Oh, we all followed Thierry Henry when he was when he was an Arsenal player," and now we're all like left without the glory because like
Yeah.
he gave you some amazing years. Even if you're complaining about now, those were the years to be an Arsenal fan as well.
100%. I mean, there's a lot of United fans all over the country, but with Arsenal fans, when you find Arsenal fans in the areas like up north and whatnot, that's normally because of Thierry Henry.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Or if you're going back, if they're a bit older, maybe Ian Wright, but there's normally a guy that draws you to a certain club, and Henry was that guy for a lot of people, man.
it was someone that transcended football and someone that realistically you could level with, on like literally on a level you could level with someone who came from France, who's a young man coming through this new
Yeah.
team, this new league and everything. And again, there were very few foreign players coming through at the time as the main starter. There'd be like here and there bit part players for in the Premier League as well, but it's just the fact that Thierry Henry just carried on.
Bro,
And
Henry had me paying £20 for them Black Knight gloves in school, bro, for no reason. Do you know what I mean? When he wore them Black Knight
got me
gloves.
paying for that stand-up speak up band for £15.
Yeah.
And my mum was like, "What's the band gonna do?" I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I meant Ruud van Nistelrooy's got it. I meant like, but my mum and dad were like Arsenal fans. They are Arsenal
Yeah.
fans, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's just one of them things that it just transcends football and it just transcends sport as well, which is crazy. Yeah, so that was basically a little chat about your footballing and your sport heroes for Black History Month. So, Kez, thank you very much. Obviously, it's nice to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, apologies for the rush, man. Pleasure as always, bro.
Always is a good pleasure. But I'll see you next time. Yeah, take care.
100%. Take care, brother.
See you later. And now we're on part 2 of the podcast. So we've got Noah from how do you say your surname? I keep getting your surname.
We just call it Varchek.
No, your surname, your second name.
Yeah, Adamson.
Adamson. Yeah, so we've got Varchek podcast host Noah Adamson, who it seems pretty simple to say your surname, but I just messed up. Forgive me, I am ill this week.
No worries, it's all good.
So yeah, you've joined us from Ottawa, Canada tonight. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
No, it's been good. I've been listening to your podcast quite recently as well, and we've been following each other for quite a while now, especially because of the European Championships. You have that little competition, so
yeah,
I was like, over the next coming season, we'll get you on for an episode. So I thought this would be a perfect time to get you on for an episode. So just continuing to carry on about what we talk about Black History Month. I know Black History Month in North America now is in February, but here in the United Kingdom it's in October. So hopefully you've done your homework, or if someone just comes off the bat for yourself, Noah, just let me know. Who are your greatest? We'll start with your greatest football influences from the Black community, and then we can just match that. I think that's a good idea. What do you think?
I think it's a pretty generic answer considering I'm a United fan, but the work that Marcus Rashford's done over the past year and a half, I just think is super inspiring, not only for other athletes, but for just people in general. Like what he's done to raise awareness for not only communities, but also the UK in general, and then even you could argue worldwide, is what he's done to bring awareness to childhood hunger and what we need to do better to be able to to allow the future generation to be able to live a good life and succeed and be able to continue the growth going, I just think is absolutely incredible what he's doing while also being a top footballer.
It's quite hard to look past Marcus Rashford as well. So everything he's done over the last 2-3 years, I would say.
Yeah.
And it started very slowly but surely, and he's gained a lot of traction. He's gained a lot of political support. He's gained a lot of celebrity support as well. And it's the fact that Marcus Rashford is still mid-20s, young 20s, I would say, 3, 4 years old, and he's taking on the government, he's taking on the system. And it's someone that, when you're looking at some of these people like Muhammad Ali, you're looking at people like Lewis Hamilton, and you're looking at some people who have really transcended their own sport, really. It's not just they've been known in history for being the best of the best. They've been the best or the greatest because they've done things outside of their sport which they've actually increased popularity as well. I think Michael Jordan is someone that you would say as well, maybe even LeBron James in this current day and age as well, has been doing something just as powerful in the United States as well. But Marcus Rashford as well is someone that you and I, we would have seen coming up through the academy from the reserves to make his first team appearance in the Europa League, and a couple of nice little goals in that first season under Louis van Gaal. But it's someone that is now a household name in most places in the United Kingdom. And would you say it's kind of the same in like the soccer circles of Canada? Would you say?
I'd say I think he's one of the bigger and more common names, just not only because he plays for United, but also the work that he does on and off the pitch just naturally gains attention.
Is that getting recognized in Canada as well, in North America?
Not the recognition that I think it deserves, but we definitely do acknowledge it over in Canada.
That's good to hear, because I think it was today or one of the days he basically received a doctorate. So over the last couple of days, he received a doctorate. So it's actually called Dr. Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. And it shows how, you know, that old saying of how one man can make a difference, and he can make a whole difference like this as well, which is incredible. And it's fantastic to really see that as a Manchester United player as well. Really
exactly.
From Lingard and Ronaldo to Marcus Rashford. But yeah, that was basically talking about Marcus Rashford and being a Man United fan and being someone who actually loved going to these Man United games and seeing him play. There's a time when I hadn't seen him score after going for like 3-4 years in a row and not seeing him score, because I went to all the games he didn't score at home. And then one game he scored against Aston Villa where we drew 2-2, but I was really happy because he scored and he celebrated where I was sitting in the stands as well. So it's these little things that Marcus Rashford, he can make you feel like a kid. By the way he plays football, but he can also make you feel proud like he's your son or he's your nephew or someone because he's done so much for the community as well in the United Kingdom. And just like you mentioned off air as well, Noah, the fact that he's inspired people around the world, so people in France and Spain and European countries are asking Marcus Rashford how they can do that kind of thing for their countries and for their communities as well. I think Moussa Sissoko from Watford was someone who wanted to do something similar to that as well. And Serge Aurier wanted to do something similar to that in the Ivory Coast as well, which is insane. But yeah, Marcus Rashford, you run out of superlatives to really talk about this man, about how he's like a modern day Superman, realistically, because of everything he does. He can only get better. Tapio, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being the second host of Barcheck Podcast to join. Hope you're doing well.
Oh yeah. No, it's always a good day. It's a
good day for you. So it's a bad day for me. It's a day where I should have gone to play football or soccer, as you would say, but still feeling.
No, we say football.
Yeah, we say football.
We say football.
Oh, good. I knew you were like Canadians for a reason. I knew you were like going to Canada to talk about football. But Tapio, why don't you join in on the conversation? We're talking about Black History Month this month, and I thought it'd be good to get you guys to show your appreciation, because I know yours is in February as well. Repeated like 2-3 times, but it's if you have any football heroes from the Black community that you want to talk about, discuss, or celebrate, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Oh, 100%. Firstly, like especially all the African players, they're just like, there's too many to mention, from Sadio Mane to Drogba, what they've been doing for the countries and everything. It's always inspiring. But for me personally, like my personal hero is I would say Thierry Henry. That he got me involved in Arsenal, so I kind of blame him.
for the audience.
Yeah, and unfortunately and very fortunately, I am an Arsenal fan, and it's all Henry's fault because if he wasn't the player that he was, I don't know, I probably would have supported. My dad would support United, so there's always a back and forth. But for him, I'm just going to talk just briefly for him. Just like the way he attacked the game and the kind of persona he just gave out was just like, and the way he interacted with the fans, it's just like when you see him play, you feel like you know him. Just like I would say, like Marcus Rashford, like you guys were just previously talking about. It's just like when you see him play, you're like, that's not Marcus Rashford, the player. That's my friend. That's my brother. Because the way the persona they give out and the energy they give out is just so positive, and it just makes you want to be a better person. So like also Henri, like he has a very distinctive head shape. So me and him have the exact same one. So that's another reason why he's my hero. I just had to say that out there because some people already know the story. So yeah, but and just to quickly touch on Sadio Mane, just what he's been doing back home in Senegal, like from the hospitals, and just like always being there and just giving the people cheer, you see it. And also me being from Zimbabwe and also living in Ghana and everything, like it just spreads across. And it's just like every time I see him play against Arsenal, I want to beat Liverpool, but I wouldn't mind if Mane scored a goal. You know what? Just let him get a little shine because, yeah, it just inspires you want to be better. And even the way they approach the game and everything, the hard work and the no times off, the no excuses. You just look at that and you're just in awe in some of these players. And yeah, especially with like what sometimes you see, with the racism and everything, like, they always have to be the bigger person and everything. So it's like sometimes they don't feel sorry for themselves. They feel that they're in this position to help make change. So there are too many to mention, but Henri, like Marcus Rashford, as you guys said, Sadio Mane and Drogba, those are the four that straight off the top of my head when every time I think about people pushing, and people just trying to get everything better because sometimes against Arsenal, sometimes Drogba, some of the goals weren't supposed to be goal. I'm just gonna say that, but at the end of the day,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, but
Yeah.
just even after the game and everything, no matter how they feel and everything, they still stick to their morals and everything. So it's just very inspiring, and I just look to it and just I just want to be a better person.
And that's something that I think you could link with the four players that you mentioned: Rashford, Drogba, Henri, and Sadio Mane. They're very close to their roots. They always remember their roots, and they'll stick to where they came from as well. So Thierry Henry, Didier Drogba from an era before where we are now, Sadio Mane and Marcus Rashford. But it's still something that you see Sadio Mane, like for here in England, you still see little things that Sadio Mane would be going to like a local mosque in Liverpool and he'd be like taking selfies and pictures with the fans, and Everton fans would be there, and they wouldn't give him grief because they're just like it's really cool as well. And Marcus Rashford going out and helping with the whole food situation in England as well, and him actually going out on deliveries, going to these schools and actually delivering it on his days off as well. Not every day off, but he's doing that on every other day off, which has been really good as well, which has been nice to see. But even with Didier Drogba, man, like, I'm a Man United fan, and he's a big player against Manchester United, scoring in the FA Cup final in 2007 in extra time. That still breaks my heart, and I'm really annoyed that I brought it up as the only goal that he scored against Manchester United. But for people who didn't know, Didier Drogba was one of the first, or probably one of the only footballers to ever stop a civil war in his own country.
Yeah.
Which is incredible, because when you're thinking of football and politics, you kind of think of someone like Nelson Mandela with the rugby situation in South Africa back in 1990s. I forgot which year, 1995, I think it was.
Yeah.
The apartheid and everything. But with Didier Drogba actually stopping a civil war in the Ivory Coast, literally just due to football and the power that he had in his own country. It shows that football really does transcend into different mediums as well. It really shows into politics, it shows into the human spirit and into humanity, really. And I might just be going on a bit, but it's just the fact that Didier Drogba has done something that you realistically politicians really couldn't have stopped that. If someone like Didier Drogba was literally in his off season or on an international break in his home country, actually stopping people from actually fighting against one each other and stopping bloodshed from happening, which is insane. And I'm not really sure how. Sorry, Carol.
Oh no, it's even there was after one of the games, I think if I remember correctly, when they qualified for the World Cup, he literally, there was security all around him, and I think it's a famous picture when he was running around literally with the people. And when you think about like someone getting X amount of money and everything, you would kind of like also say, you know, like I'll fear low for my safety. Like he doesn't care. Like what he's just so passionate about his country, about his roots, and it's just like when you see some of that, you're just like, yo, okay. Even though I don't care what team you play for, yeah, you're my guy.
Yeah, it's something like Noah and I were just talking about before. You could just relate to as well. You don't have to relate to him as a footballer to a fan. You relate him to someone who, like, you could literally relate to, which is insane. But in this day and age as well, there's someone I wanted to kind of talk about as well. I've got so many to do, and I'm going to be doing it over the course of the month. So Noah's kind of stolen Marcus Rashford from me, so I've had to think of my number 2 for tonight. So this one's on Raheem Sterling, the England footballer, the footballer who plays for Manchester City, the arch rivals of Manchester United, and is someone who I believe has really taken it to the British media and the British public because of the false narratives around Raheem Sterling, and someone who isn't afraid to shy away from not controversy, but kind of standing up for himself and his own right as well, which is pretty good for Raheem Sterling. And especially during the European Championships over the summer as well, where people were complaining about Raheem Sterling being in the starting 11. There are people saying that Gareth Southgate, the England manager, had a favouritism towards Raheem Sterling as well. And it's the fact that with England getting to the final of the Euros, we wouldn't have been anywhere close to the final without Raheem Sterling scoring the 2 goals in the group stages, or being someone who we could actually use as a focal point in the European Championships as well. But even outside of football, Raheem Sterling has had to deal with negative press year after year after year. He was taunted for moving to Manchester City for monetary reasons. Of course you would do when you move to Manchester City, but
I mean,
it's been proven to be a Premier League champion as well, which is had at the same time. But Raheem Sterling is someone who kind of has to he's kind of been like a target ever since Wayne Rooney's retired from football. So Wayne Rooney was kind of the British media public villain number 1 in football. And then it was basically something where we need to find a new target. Who can we find? Marcus Rashford has had a few hits, but it's basically Raheem Sterling. And there was a situation once upon a time, I'm not sure if either of you had been aware of this, but there was a time where Raheem Sterling bought a house for his
mother. I was about to mention that.
Yeah, so he bought a house for his mother, and the press were going on about how it's Raheem Sterling flashing his money and is showing off by buying a something million pound house, and you're just there thinking, he's a footballer, he's earned his money, he's kind of saved up that money, or just paid for it, which is perfect. And then 2 weeks later, there was another black player, I think his name was Tosin, he plays for Fulham now. He did the same thing happened to him.
Yeah.
And then I think a year later or something like that, Phil Foden had bought his mum a house as well. And everyone was like, oh wow, look at Phil Foden, he's bought a house for his mum, how proud she must be of him and all of that. And you're just kind of thinking there's no real correlation between the two besides the difference in skin tone, really, which is quite awesome. It's quite upsetting as well. And even he was saying that the newspapers have been fueling racism for years, and they've been using his name against the narrative, really, which is quite sad to see. And I'm not sure if that really happens in Canadian football. Excuse my lack of knowledge for like main Canadian football, but do you kind of get that with like tabloids in Canada, where like people going against the press in any kind of way?
You don't really see it so much in the papers and the tabloids, but you do see it on social media, unfortunately. Not so much at the grounds. You don't really see it when you're at the games, but you do see it on social media, which shouldn't be happening. But yeah, it definitely is a problem everywhere.
Unfortunately, is. How about you, Captain? Got anything to add to that?
So I'll just say another thing about with that, because the Canadian, like the CPL is just pretty still young.
Yeah.
So, and what they've really done is that they've tried to instill, like, since they obviously we all see what's happening around the world and everything, they've tried to instill like a no tolerance policy straight off the bat. So you obviously you see social media here and there, but you really won't hear it in the crowds and everything. And so, like, yeah, that's it. That's a little shining grace, but still seeing it here on social media where some players just literally after, like, some days you do your job well, some days you don't do your job well, just like everybody else. So I don't,
Yeah.
if he missed a one-on-one, like, he doesn't have to hear, like, he doesn't have to see all what we all see. Like, just why? Like, if you could do it, go do it yourself, but you probably couldn't. So that's why they're probably mad. But hey.
Yeah, it was like in the Euros when England had 3 players that missed a penalty. They were all 3 black players that missed a penalty.
Yeah.
It was like Rashford and Jadon Sancho. There was a situation where basically there was a school teacher who was taking class for his kids on the Monday or the Tuesday afterwards. And all the kids were like, oh, I could have scored that penalty. I could have done this. I could have done that. So he recreated the situation at lunchtime with the whole, like, yards of, like, from a penalty spot to a goal, and the whole anticipation of walking up from the halfway line to the centre circle as well. Centre circle to the penalty spot, sorry. And, like, most of the kids missed anyway. So there was a lesson that they learned firsthand of, oh yeah, if you miss, don't go and blame them because of the colour of their skin. Miss because it was a tough situation to be in as well. And it's quite sad to see how it happens. Like, even with Man United, when Man United lost the game, or drew a game, I think we drew a game though against Everton 3-3 last season.
Yeah, that game was when it, like, really kicked off.
It really kicked off. Axel Tuanzebe, Marcus Rashford receiving racial abuse as well, Fred receiving racial abuse as well. And you're just kind of thinking, you're not racially abusing Harry Maguire, you're not racially abusing Victor Lindelof or any of these other players because of the different colours of their skin. So there's a certain narrative that was unfortunately at play, and it became a common thing over the last Premier League season, all the fans not being in the stadium, and the pundits in England, not a lot of them, a few of them were trying to justify it by saying, oh yeah, we're not in stands, you're not seeing people in person, it's not the same, you're cooped up indoors. I'm like, the narrative should never be to racially abuse someone, no matter how bad they're being or how upset you're feeling as well, which is annoying. But to leave this podcast on a positive note, because I don't want to end it like that. I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on if you see anyone in any other sport kind of doing the same kind of thing as Marcus Rashford, or if they're doing anything locally as well. Because for me, in football's like our biggest sport. We've got cricket, we've got rugby, we've got athletics and stuff like that, which is pretty good as well. But when you're kind of looking at how it's the Christmas period coming up, you're going to have people. Do you celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada as well?
Yeah.
So you'll have Thanksgiving coming up as well. I remember a lot of American football players do a lot for Thanksgiving as well. But realistically speaking, can you kind of name people so I could personally learn about these people from other sports in the USA or Canada that would have the same kind of impact on their sport and society like Marcus Rashford does?
So, we'll just go like straight to like basketball and American football over here. So, like, well, we all know who LeBron James is. I mean, LeBron James.
I'm joking.
And so he, like, with all the investments, he started a school, the Dream Academy. So, and it's basically just to help the kids around the area, so give them quality education, get them ready for school. And like, you see a lot of the players, you can name like every single one of them. They have camps here and there, they have food drives here and there, and they always go back to their hometown, which is like, because they're always like, just a home roots and everything, and like, okay, I'm gonna go to I don't know many places around here, but Arizona, I'm gonna go to Winnipeg, I'm gonna go back home on my off season, on my days off, I'm just gonna give out backpacks and everything. You see, with tennis and all the other sports, here and there, I'm sure they all have charities and everything, but I would say American football, that's where it's become like a tradition. It's a good, if we keep it call it tradition or a trend, hey, as long as it continues. Everything's given, they're giving out turkeys and everything to less fortunate and everything. So it's something that, a good habit that I've seen in those two sports that has kept on going. So yeah, but when it comes to the players, like from as soon as you're a first round pick, you're doing that because you have the money to do that. So there's quite a lot of them who do that. But yeah, I'm not sure about other sports, but a basketball and American football, yeah, I'm not sure. Noah, maybe.
Well, I can say about American football, I support the Pittsburgh Steelers, and our first round draft pick this year, Najee Harris, one of his first days in Pittsburgh, he was helping out with a food drive. Like, I think it was his second day in the city. He hadn't even found an apartment or a house or anything, like literally just got to Pittsburgh and was already helping out with a food drive for the less fortunate. There's Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster as well.
Yeah.
Claypool is actually from Canada, and the two of them, they're constantly doing like food drives. I know, I want to say 2 seasons ago, they did a drive for the local schools. So they like gave out backpacks and school supplies and all that kind of stuff for the kids that were less fortunate and not in the position to be able to afford all those supplies. So it definitely is growing across North America and everywhere, honestly, where you do see these athletes giving back to their communities. And it definitely is a nice thing to see.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice thing to see. And hopefully, like Taps was just saying, something that as long as you're doing it, it's a good thing to be doing. And hopefully it continues and grows and grows and grows, which would be fantastic to really see and hear about as well. But Taps, thank you very much for explaining that to me as well. And hopefully the listeners get some benefit from that as well. Personally, I did, which was fantastic. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts on Black History Month for our side of the pond. Hopefully when February comes around, you'll remember me and you'll be like, let's get Hamza back from Friday Night Counter-Attack.
No, don't worry. More coming, more collabs coming. We're here.
It'll be quite fun to do that as well. And I'll be like, yeah, I've got a few more to be going for as well. Because I think that's what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks. So we've got normal episodes come back because of the Premier League and the Champions League and everything like that. But I'll still do a segment on Black History Month, and it'll be quite nice to just discuss that as well for another 5-10 minutes on the pod. But guys, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your cooperation as well. It's been fantastic. I haven't been because I'm ill. I've still got a cold, and hopefully you don't catch it all the way in Canada. It's not coronavirus, it's COVID-19. But I'm all well and good. And thanks for coming on this week's podcast.
Thanks again for having us on. It's been a lot of fun and a big honor.
Oh, you're too kind, though. Honestly, it'll be an honor for me to join you on the next podcast of VAR-Check. So I can't wait to join when that
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Bring me on for like a Christmas episode or something like that. That'll be quite fun.
Trust me, we'll bring you on. We'll bring on the vibes episode. Not about vibes. We'll talk about nothing but vibes. Don't worry.
Nothing but vibes. It'll be fun. But thanks everyone for listening. Please subscribe. Just follow us on YouTube as well, which would be great. Take care and goodbye.